Evening and welcome back to tonight's discussion where we explore the pressing environmental issues of our time and what we can all do to make a difference. Today we are on a journey towards a greener, more sustainable future, and joining us is a man who has dedicated his life to this cause. Dr. Joseph Kurauka is a renowned environmentalist, educator and advocate for sustainable development. With years of hands-on experience in conservation and unwavering passion for the planet, he's here to guide us on the green road to recovery, from the devastating effects of climate change to the urgent need for global action. Dr. Kurauka's insights have never been more crucial. Dr. Kurauka, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, KUTV team. I'm glad to join you this evening.
In fact, we are grateful. Particularly, I'd like to commend you because you have had quite a busy day, and thank you for also making time for this key conversation.
Thank you.
So let's get straight to it. Perhaps you can be able to share with us, what do you see as the most important environmental challenge? And perhaps you can also share with us, what do you view as the road to recovery, also particularly for the youth?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, KUTV. Once again, let me introduce myself. My name is Joseph Kurauka in the Department of Environmental Studies and Community Development, School of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Kenyatta University. Some of the key environmental issues that are quite challenging include environmental degradation, especially in our catchment areas, pollution in urban areas, and also lack of sustainable housing, especially in our urban areas, where quite a number of people are living in informal settlement. And I think this has been a major challenge because of waste management and also other environmental related pollution. Thank you.
And perhaps you can be able to hint to us what would be the road to recovery, because particularly even in our prior story, the call for having the youth, particularly in this conversation, is something that has come out. Perhaps you can be able to hint to us what is the direction, what is the next move to take, so that we can be able to at least alleviate the situation, particularly for the younger generation.
Thank you. Thank you for the youth. Youth need to come out strongly in addressing environmental challenges that are facing our country. As we have mentioned today, we are under a major activity where a number of groups, especially the organized water resource users associations, community-based organizations, the youth, and other members of the community are engaged in major tree growing activities to rehabilitate degraded and riparian areas or catchment areas that have led to loss of vegetation cover and also pollution of our rivers. For the youth, there are opportunities because youth can address some of these challenges through maybe increased funding, empowering youth voices. Most of the youth need also education and training so that they have capacity to promote collaboration and also ensure that they are engaged in a number of activities that are geared towards mitigating environmental challenges, especially what you have mentioned, the climate related challenges that we have today. Thank you.
And Dr. Something that comes out is that when you're looking at matters concerning environmental conservation, something that comes out is that we see more of community-based organizations, we see NGOs, we see all types of organizations coming on the forefront, and for some reason even communities themselves, and for some reason it's like we see like there seems, or rather there's a perception that state actors are not really that in this conversation of environmental conservation, despite the fact that it has an impact on the population as a whole. Is it right to note this, or rather, is this a correct deduction that rather our state actors are more or less relaxed on matters concerning environmental conservation, and that would be the reason why we are seeing more of actors who are more in a private capacity, where we see CBOs, NGOs, communities just coming together, a group of women from a certain region, a group of young people, a group of, we just don't see that muscle, particularly from the state actors, while we do have a ministry for environment. Is it correct to make this deduction?
Okay, thank you. That's quite a challenge. Environmental management, environmental sustainability, conserving our ecosystems, and ensuring that we live in a sustainable environment. This should be a multi-stakeholder kind of initiative or activities. For example, you find in areas where we live, you must have state agencies, the community, and also all players, especially the civil society organizations, the academia, those other players within the community need to partner and create synergy so that we are able to address those environmental issues. There are those principles that are very critical, especially when we are dealing with the economic matters, social matters, and also other related activities on environmental considerations. What we have raised on state agencies, for example, the National Environment Management Authority, this has a legal mandate on enforcement, because enforcement of environmental related issues is under the mandate of NEMA, or National Environment Management Authority, but they require also support from various stakeholders for them to succeed in their mandate. There are other aspects like polluter pays principle that can also be applied to mitigate some of the environmental issues that we have been facing in this country and also in the region. The other aspect is on shared responsibility, environmental issues, environmental conservation initiatives require concerted effort. All the players, whether the civil society, the government agencies, the county government, the community must be involved. The activity we had today, we engaged a number of stakeholders, starting with the community. That's the Committee River Water Resource Users Association. We had the Kiambu Water Company. We had the community themselves. Some CMPOs were involved, and also Kenyatta University was strongly also involved, where we were able to donate a number of tree seedlings for this activity. Thank you.
Indeed, 30,000 trees were planted today by the Kenyatta University, particularly by its students. And something that came out was that this was within a water catchment area, Daktari. Perhaps you can be able to break down what is the role of trees in water conservation?
Thank you. For the trees that we are targeting in these areas, our catchment areas have been significantly affected due to a number of factors. For example, the increasing population. You know, most of our catchment areas, people have practiced intensive agriculture, housing or construction in these areas, road expansion, the dam building, among others. All these activities have led to loss of farmlands, trees in our farmlands and other areas. For example, in a metropolitan area, you realize most of the catchment areas are already settled, especially in Kiambu County. If you visit parts of Kajiado, parts of Machakos, you realize because of increasing population, people have really affected the tree species and also the vegetation cover in those areas. The other aspect is on the challenges that we have, some of these trees that have been affected in these ecosystems, you realize most of them are the indigenous tree species, where a number of farmers have replaced those indigenous tree species with some of the exotic species like eucalyptus. And this explains why in our areas you find rivers that were existing today, they are not actually having adequate water resource that can sustain communities living downstream.
And
For
looking,
these three,
yes, and looking
yes,
at
please.
such initiatives, perhaps in your own view, do you view like the youth are putting their best foot forward in being part of such conservation efforts? And are there hindrances that you view they are facing, or that would be actually made to be able to make it easier for them to be involved in the activities of conserving the environment in such initiatives?
Okay, thank you. For our youth, youth have an opportunity. However, there are a number of challenges affecting youth today, including lack of resources. We have a challenge when it comes to their limited political power. There is also another challenge facing our youth, apathy and disengagement. Some of them are also affected by misinformation and also that aspect of adult resistance. This has been a challenge that is affecting our youth. However, these challenges can be mitigated or can be overcome with, especially what I mentioned earlier, increasing funding to the youth, especially those organized groups. A number of youth groups are organized in conservation efforts in our catchment areas and also involved in urban areas where they have innovative systems that can actually address some of the climate, environmental related challenges. Then empowerment of youth voices, education and the training, ensure that there is a promotion of collaborations and also support them in terms of including mental health and also acknowledging that the eco anxiety and the social anxiety promote mental health resources. I provide spaces for youth to cement and also support them in addressing environmental concerns. Thank you.
And among the key things that we come to note even with this age is that gender inclusivity is something that is very key. Perhaps you can be able to touch on the role of women, particularly in the journey of environmental conservation, being that for a wide reason, women they usually are the first receivers of the effects of climate change because maybe of the work they do where they are locally, and they tend to be the victims of effects of climate change at first. What do you think, or rather, what is your perception or guidance on the role of women, particularly in the climate initiative discussion?
Okay, thank you. That's a very key aspect on environmental and also climate related areas. Gender inclusivity is very important in our activities, especially in conservation, where the role of women is key. Gender specific policies need to be operationalized because this can reduce their vulnerability. Because women, as you know, are vulnerable when it comes to scarcity of resource because they are directly involved in resource use, and also when there are those environmentally or kind of those disasters, the natural disasters or hazards that can actually affect women significantly. For example, when we have challenges with the water resource, it's mostly women in the rural areas are affected, are significantly affected because they walk long distances in search of fresh water for use or potable water for their household use. When there is degradation of maybe catchment areas, and we experience these landslides or maybe those other like flooding or rivers, you realize most of the affected people children and the women in those households. Just a declining resource is also a challenge, especially fuel. Some of the areas in our country have a challenge when it comes to sustainable fuel supply, like firewood, like charcoal, among others. And this has really affected the women, especially as they mitigate other livelihood challenges. And this has been significant, especially in the global south, when we are talking of Africa countries and those other developing countries in South America or other parts of Asia. The other key aspect is we need to prioritize gender specific, especially address environmental challenges, climate related, and ensure that there are those adaptation policies that are able to empower our women, especially in rural areas, to cope with some of related climate related challenges, especially prolonged droughts. They need to feed their children. They need to address some of those gaps that I've mentioned, maybe found and also water for household use. Thank you.
And there's something you've touched on concerning the conflicts, particularly arising due to the strife of our natural resources. Now, would it be right to deduct that through conservation, they can be able to cure these conflicts? Because when we conserve, it means we have an abundance in matters of resources. Is it correct to deduct that if we are very charismatic about our conservation efforts, we can be able to ensure that we deal with the situation of conflicts arising because of natural resources?
Thank you. That's a very good perspective. If we are able to conserve our natural resources, we can address some of the natural resource related conflicts. For example, rehabilitation of our forest area, rehabilitation of wetlands and water resources can minimize or can mitigate some of the challenges we have been facing. Because most of the conflicts that are experienced in our riparian areas is where people have conflict due to the scarcity of water resources. You know, some of these rivers we have today have been affected by over abstraction. Many people want to use it for household use, for micro irrigation, and this may also affect the livelihoods of people living downstream. In most cases, you realize there are other related conflicts because of such of energy. Most of our people, rural people, rely on uh, firewood, especially firewood, among others. And this also can lead to some conflict in resource use, especially declining forest cover that we have, and also sources of wind. The other conflicts that are quite significant on biodiversity, this is key, especially when we have wildlife. Today, a number of cases are being reported in this country, and this happens in most countries where we have wildlife, the human-wildlife conflict. This has also led to loss of lives in some areas, loss of crops, which has really affected the livelihoods of local people. The other related conflicts on natural resources like minerals. If minerals are properly utilized, especially those communities, you know, areas where we have mines, others we may have sand harvesting. This, in most cases, can lead to conflict of local community, and this can be mitigated by conserving and designing policies that can address resource use and resource sharing in those communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ari, for that insightful revelation, because you've actually peered into dimensions that we would not think of that actually are impacting particularly on communities and their natural resources that are not used in a proper way, or rather that are not conserved. Perhaps in finality, Dr. Ari, as an environmentalist that you are, perhaps you can give us your end game, or rather the vision you have when you look and imagine an environment that is managed properly. What is that end game when you look at it after these efforts that we are putting, particularly in ensuring that the environment is in a good state, are achieved? What is that picture that you see?
Thank you. One of the areas that we need to focus on is to ensure that all our stakeholders, our people, key players, civil society, those in management of our resources and our environment should know that this is more of intergenerational equity. We need also to come up with a clear guideline on ensuring that there is stewardship to ensure in our country, in our areas, all the stakeholders are involved so that we have a clean and healthy environment. If it's our rivers, conserving our rivers or ensuring our rivers are properly conserved, this should not be just for the involved the stakeholders like Water Resource Authority or National Environment Authority. This should be for all stakeholders, including the local community, those that are involved in maybe water resource users associations, the community forest associations, the local community, including the civil society organizations, should play a vital role in ensuring that all these environmental related issues are addressed. The other key issue is ensuring that we include the corporate social responsibility. The companies that are involved in mega activities or in maybe production, involved in mining, involved in construction, there should be corporate social responsibility component where communities are facilitated, they are supported so that they are able to earn their livelihood as they conserve ecosystems where they live, especially in urban areas. You find in our city today, the city of Nairobi has been having issues, challenges in terms of access to adequate clean water. And this can be mitigated or can be addressed when we engage communities in our catchment areas, those in Muranga County, those in Abande ecosystem, those in Lemuru, so that we are able to conserve those ecosystems and have more water getting downstream that can maybe sustain our growing population. The other key aspect is to ensure that there is human resource management and green innovation. So if we are able to mainstream green innovation in our institutions, in our agencies, in our counties, in our operations, including the local community, we'll be able to have a sustainable environment. We conserve our biological diversity and ensure our ecological integrity within our country is realized. And have clean water, have clean towns and other urban areas in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daktari. And thank you also for giving us your insights, particularly within dark hours. It's quite in the evening. And tomorrow, I believe you also have a busy day of our tree planting activity within the Kenyatta University, the premier university. Perhaps you can give an invite on that before we end our discussion.
Okay, thank you. Tomorrow, we will be having a major tree growing activity within Kenyatta University. As the chair of Tree Plant and Growing Committee, Kenyatta University, I would like to invite all our stakeholders within the university. We'll be joined by other external rural community of water users association within our catchment area, so that this initiative can also benefit communities around Kenyatta University. So we are targeting to grow close to 5,000 tree seedlings tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari, and I believe the invite is also to us, as we will be part of the tree growers tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time, Daktari.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
And of course, you can be able to share your insights right there on our social media platforms at KUTV_Kenya on the X platform and KUTV Kenya on the Facebook platform concerning our discussion tonight on the road to recovery, particularly in being able to move in conservation efforts that will be able to safeguard our planet, particularly the youth, because we have quite the responsibility in ensuring the planet is safe, not only for us, but also for the generations that come after us. We take a short break right here on KUTV Primetime News. We'll be back in a moment.